Is doing well.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
We'll soon start, very soon, please.
My friend, record me. When you start to record me, now you can use your phone that you're familiar. Can you use my phone too? My code is 1969. Deluxe. Yes. Can you use my phone too? My code is 1969. Deluxe.
Abami,
Yes, sir.
we can start now while they join, Abi.
Yes. So we are live on YouTube currently.
Abami,
Yes, sir.
we can start now while they join, Abi.
Yes. So we are live on YouTube currently. We're going live now. All right. Good morning, everyone, and I want to welcome you to the first edition of CyberPay webinar. It's good to have everybody here. Yes. So we are live on YouTube. We're going live now. All right. Good morning, everyone, and I want to welcome you to the first edition of CyberPay webinar. It's good to have everybody here. Yes. So we are live on YouTube. I'm going live now. Okay, before we set the ball rolling, let me just give you a brief about the business. Cyberspace Limited was founded in 1995 and has been a business leader in the ICT industry for the past 25 years with a diversified portfolio in networking, connectivity solutions, and software solutions. The company is being led by experienced. Let me just give you a brief about the business. Cyberspace Limited was founded in 1995 and has been a business leader in the ICT industry.
They realize what is happening.
All right, sorry for that break in transmission. As they used to say in those days of the old television style. So as I was saying, cyberspace as a business is being led by experienced and dynamic leaders. And that was proven by the addition of the financial technology business to the cyberspace group. Hence the birth of CyberPay Limited as a digital payment and financial technology subsidiary of the cyberspace business group. So why are we here today? A lot has been said about and written about financial inclusion policy in Nigeria, and then one wonders why, whether there's anything to be said again or why we still need to even talk about it. But today, beyond just understanding what financial inclusion is all about, we will learn about what has been achieved so far, the challenges of the implementation of the financial inclusion, especially now where we have the new normal occasioned by the COVID-19 disease. We will listen to the panelists as they share their understanding of financial inclusion policy as it relates to their different industries and how they've structured their product and services to meet the expectation of the policy, the challenges that they face in implementing the financial inclusion policy, and of course, how they're leveraging digital payment system in spite of the COVID-19 issue. I must say I'm delighted to be here, to be participating in this webinar today, not because I'm the host, but because I anticipate a very insightful session and a time well spent today. I want to appreciate our panelists for honoring our invites to avail themselves for the webinar. And we appreciate the registered participants who are already with us and the ones that will join in the course of the webinar as we proceed. Thank you very much for your support. Permit me to do a brief introduction of the panelists before we set the ball rolling. We have here Mr. Kehinde Borishade. He's an expert in insurance, risk management, reinsurance, distribution, marketing, and product management. He's currently the MD and Chief Executive Officer of Zenith General Insurance, after he has excelled as the Secretary Director of Technical between 2017 and 2018. So he will be sharing with us from his wealth of experience in the insurance industry, especially about creating and deploying retail insurance products and services, and how the industry relates with the financial inclusion policy. Borishade.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, I would also like to introduce Mr. Abimbola Ladele. Abimbola Ladele is an accomplished financial and wealth investment business executive. He has over 16 years working experience in the financial sector. He specializes in pension and investment funds management. He's currently the head of micro pension and agency department in the Stanbic IBTC Pensions Limited. He will tell us about the pension industry and how it relates to financial inclusion. He will also tell us about how they are using digital payment system to push their product and services that are aligned with the financial inclusion policy. And then to Mr. Abednego Ugweke, is a man of strategy. That's the strategy man. And his excellence in strategy is both evidenced in his career and his certification. He has been in the financial services industry for quite a while, and he has a wealth of experience in mobile payment, project management, banking, digital payment system. Today, he will be talking about his bank's contribution to the achievement of the objectives of the financial inclusion policy. He will also talk about products and services that are strategically designed to foster access to financial services and how they are leveraging digital payment system in First Bank. Mr. Stephen Ambore is of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He's a digital guru with over 15 years experience in developing and implementing IT strategies. He's the current head of digital financial services at the Financial Inclusion Secretariat in CBN. And then from him, we'll be learning a lot about financial inclusion, how they're leveraging digital payment system, especially in this new normal. So once again, I welcome all the panelists. Thank you very much for coming around. And I also believe that the participants are going to have a great session with every one of us tomorrow. At this point, permit me to welcome the Group Managing Director of Cyberspace Limited, in person of Engineer Joe Onwubuya, to formally welcome us to the webinar.
Thank you, Abayomi.
You're welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session. It promises to be a fruitful and well-spent time. The financial inclusion story did not just start today. This has been ongoing for quite a while. And because the nation continues to experience population growth in rural as well as urban cities, it is obvious that the topic of financial inclusion cannot be overemphasized. With the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic that has disrupted the economic landscape, the more reason why conversations around financial inclusion must continue in order to sensitize the populace enough to know how to participate and benefit. The Central Bank of Nigeria, in partnership with other key stakeholders, have developed and launched an initiative, the Financial Inclusion Policy, that is not only people-centric, but also fantastic in ensuring that no one is left out. And I'm super excited that we have a representative from these stakeholders here as panelists. Financial inclusion is the consideration for every eligible member of the community to have access to financial services irrespective of location and economic status. As a solution-driven organization, at CyberPay, we have also strategically developed various channels by which populace that are financially excluded can now access financial services with our participation in various micro payment schemes like micro pension, micro insurance, micro savings and investments, etc. The financial inclusion scheme was introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria in 1977 with the aim of achieving one bank branch in each of Nigeria's local government area. The scheme has seen improvements and remodeling over the years with the continued growth in technology adoption. The first national financial inclusion strategy, however, was launched in 2012 with a target of 80% financial inclusion by year 2020. According to Findex, a financial inclusion index compiled by the World Bank, the emergence of companies that adopt technology to widen, scale up, and ease access to financial services has marked improvements in financial inclusion. Technology-driven innovations like transaction channel diversification, consumer identification with the use of BVN, and many more, coupled with regulations, have enabled the furtherance of the financial inclusion drive in Nigeria. We are gathered here today to know more about financial inclusion, harness the digital advantage of this present day, and understand that irrespective of the times that we are in, every stakeholder is still very much motivated and committed in the fulfillment of the financial inclusion goal. On that note, I welcome you to this interesting conversation, and I'm convinced that with the caliber of individuals on the panel and the combined industrial experience, this session will be worth your while. We will all gain enough insight into what is happening in the scheme of things where financial inclusion is concerned. I expect that new business ideas will come out of this conversation, so I implore you to stay tuned in and not miss a single line from any of the panelists. Thank you and have an amazing time.
Thank you very much, Engineer Joe. That's the Group Managing Director of Cyberspace Limited. We appreciate the speech, and I believe that you have set the good foundation for the discussion this morning. Okay, so I know that the discussion will generate a lot of questions, and so I will say that if you have any question, the participant, you use the chat button just below your Zoom page. Just use the chat button for your questions, and then so we'll be picking up questions later from there to pass across to the panelists, and then the other questions that do not get to the panel will definitely get answers from the secretariat that is already dedicated for that. So to set the ball rolling, each of our panelists will have 15 minutes each. Your first 5 minutes out of the 15 minutes will be for you to tell us, introduce, talk generally about financial inclusion, your understanding of financial inclusion, how it applies to your industry. And then the next 5 minutes will be for questions from myself as the host. And then the other 5 minutes will be for, permit me to welcome Alhaji Mohammed Babajika, the Director of Licensing and Authorization of NCC. Alhaji, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for welcoming me, and I also apologize for my late coming because of other engagements that I just had with my CEO, that I should go and attend another meeting in the next 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I know that was since yesterday, and I've mentioned it. So it is good that I will just make my contribution as we advance. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome, sir. All right, so quickly, to set the ball rolling, I would like to start, because we are discussing financial inclusion and married to digital payment. So to lay the background and to create the necessary foundation that we need today to move forward, I would like to invite Mr. Stephen Ampore of the Digital Financial Services team of CBN to give us like an insight into the financial inclusion policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He will tell us what have been achieved so far, who are the stakeholders that are involved, and other information that he intends to share with us. You're welcome, Mr. Ampore. You have 5 minutes. You might need to speak a little bit. We can't hear you.
Just unmute.
Is it any better now?
Oh, yeah, it's better now.
So do I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you very much. And just like Mr. Babajika, I really have to apologize for coming in late. We're in a very interesting time. Normally, in a very important conference like this, we'll be all out of our offices and in a particular venue, you know. But right now, we're at work and we're having a very important conversation. So I had to come in late because of one or two meetings that came in impromptu. But I'm very excited to be here. I'm really excited with the background that the MD brought to hear an IT company not just interested in providing solution for an enterprise, but really interested in the mass market, as it were. Financial inclusion means a lot of things to a lot of people. And as the head of digital financial services, I begin to understand that we need to talk more about financial inclusion so that stakeholders will understand what financial inclusion is and come up with solutions that really will address financial inclusion. For a lot of people, financial inclusion is about people that don't have money at all. So they equate financial inclusion to poverty. For a lot of people, financial inclusion is about people that stay in the villages. Once you are in the city, you are included. Everything here is right and wrong. But what exactly is financial inclusion? Pardon me to come down to this level. I don't want to take for granted that there are people joining the conference that are new to financial inclusion. First of all, financial inclusion is about people. Secondly, is about access to financial services, not just any financial services that meet needs, financial service of a certain quality, financial service that is accessible. So if you have a bank account in Abuja and you go to Kaurana Moda, and in Kaurana Moda you cannot have access to your bank account in Abuja, at that particular moment, there's a financial access point concern and you're financially excluded. So in Nigeria, based on statistics, 63.2% of the 99.6 Nigerian adults are financially included. Okay. Interestingly, this is not about
can you present that data again? Sorry to interject. You said 60 what percent, sir?
63.2%.
Okay.
Yes. So I was saying 63.2% of Nigerian adults are financially included. It means 36.6 million people are financially excluded. That is more than the population of the entire Ghana. Nigeria is huge in size. And we're talking adults, we're not talking individuals. So you can imagine for one adult, the number of people that particular adult takes care of. Now, basically, the objective of financial inclusion is to ramp up this number. We started from around 58% in 2012. We're looking at taking the number up to 80% by 2020. And what does that mean actually? We actually mean we want to improve penetration of payments by 60% in 2020. This is 2020. We want to increase penetration of payment by 70%, pardon me. Improve credits to 60%. Improve insurance to 40%, all by 2020. But it is quite sad because when you start looking at the numbers, this is 2020, but in insurance, we're still at 1.6 or 1.9%, depending on where you're getting the data. And a lot of stakeholders have been involved doing different things in financial inclusion. So after the development of the initial strategy in 2020, when we looked at the numbers, in 2016, we knew that something drastically needed to be done. Otherwise, financial inclusion in Nigeria will be a pipe dream. So we decided to revise the national strategy and focus on leveraging digital strategy is amping digital financial services to achieve financial inclusion objective. The previous strategy brought out a number of about 70 different initiatives that needed to be implemented to meet the financial inclusion objective. But we said, no, we want to allow this to be principle-based. What are the principles? One, allow players to play to their strengths. Secondly, provide a level playing ground for everyone that can provide financial inclusion solution. To that end, from 2018, you see a couple of policies from the Central Bank and the Bankers Committee. For instance, the Payment Service Bank license that was issued in November 2017. This is basically to open up the space for non-traditional players like the telcos, like fast-moving good consumer companies, or any large retail outlet that has different, it's about distribution, you know? So any one of them can come in and play in the financial service space for the first time. In the same year, we looked at expanding agent network from 0 to 500,000 by December this year. So we launched the SANEF initiative, the Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility, to basically ramp up number of fixed location agents, because we need to improve financial service access points. You know, there was a time in 2015, there were 30% of local government areas in Nigeria that do not have single financial service access points. And to add to that, the CBN and the Bankers Committee supported the setup of the NISA Microfinance Bank with the objective of having at least one of those bank branches in all the 774 local governments in Nigeria, trying to address the issue of access points. And there are a lot of stakeholders from NCC, from the pensions people, from the insurance people that are coming up with products that will ride on the objective of the strategy. So we have the micro insurance policy, we have the micro pension policy, we have the Takaful by the insurance people, we have the bank assurance policy. So a lot of policies are being rolled out by different stakeholders to meet that objective. So I'll just pause here. Let me not take all the time. I can speak about the financial inclusion gap from now to this time tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are right on the nick of time, because I was just about saying, if you allow you to continue, might extend the webinar to another 24 hours. All right, thank you very much for Mr. Ambore. Key point from what you have said, there are about 36 million adult Nigerians that are still excluded financially. And that is the target now, to ensure that these 36 million are also included. Not only in banking services, we need to know that, but also in relative financial services like insurance, like pension as well. And the mentality that financial inclusion is for the poor or for the remote location, we should change that mentality. Financial inclusion is for everybody. It's for everybody. It means having access to financial services wherever you are in the country. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ambore. You have really done good justice to the introduction. Permit me to call on Alhaji Babajika. Mr. Ambore mentioned earlier that they are collaborating. There are a lot of stakeholders, and one of the stakeholders is NCC. So what's NCC involvement in financial inclusion? How is NCC partnering with CBN to help them in pushing this ideology around financial inclusion? Alhaji Babajika, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, my brother over there, and members of the team. When we talk of financial inclusion, this dates back as 2010. That was the time when actually NCC saw the need to include certain financial transactions using the telecoms infrastructure. And we developed a framework at that time, I'm talking about 2010, to do mobile money. So when we had that framework, we had a kind of intervention from the central bank saying that there is need for us to collaborate. Since we are talking about finance now, let the two regulators come together and see how best we can push that forward. Knowing fully the 774 local government councils we have in Nigeria, we have access in those areas. And there are areas as the central bank rep mentioned that have no services at the moment. So bridging those gaps can be easily facilitated via the telecoms infrastructure. So when that came on board, we now said, look, for us to drive this process forward, let's have a joint technical committee to look at these issues and come up with a direction to both regulators. In this case, whatever recommendations that we come up from that committee will be binding on the two regulators so that we move forward as far as mobile money is concerned. And by inclusion, financial inclusion strategy of Nigeria. So on the basis of that, we look at there are certain key things that we have to straighten. We have to come up, one, with a memorandum of understanding so that each player will know what is expected.
Rules are, yes, exactly.
And that memorandum of understanding 3 years or 4 years down the line was prepared and signed by the two chief executives of the regulatory agencies. In this case, the governor of the central bank and the chief executive of Nigerian Communications Commission. So we have been moving along with that. And thank God that I am part and parcel of that process right from the onset in 2010. And at the moment, I still chair that committee while the central bank is deputizing. To be specific, the director of payment systems. That's why I was insisting, let him be part of this, this engagement today, because we have the history together with him. We started it together. But nevertheless, the young man have actually addressed certain concerns, which we need to look at and say exactly what we are doing to ensure that the unbanked are banked and people have access to financial services through the collaboration with the telecommunication infrastructure service providers. So it is in this note that I want to make certain points very clear. One, the Nigerian Communications Commission numbering resources to digital payment service providers for modernization purposes via the USSD channel. That is very critical in mobile banking. You have to have that to make it happen. Two, the Nigerian Communications Commission encouraged the mobile network operators to obtain PSSB licenses from the central bank in order to increase the coverage and access to mobile financial services by Nigerian citizens. So the 36.6 million unbanked, we can easily bank them via this initiative. The NCC holds regular stakeholder fora on VAS, that is value-added service, and e-fraud, where all the necessary stakeholders in the ecosystem are brought together under one umbrella to discuss the challenges of the ecosystem and providing solutions on how to move the industry forward. As we know, for growth and development of the economy in Nigeria, there's no way we can leave financial inclusion. They are part and parcel of that process. So I will be very mindful. And also to transform the economy into the digital economy we are proposing, financial inclusion is part and parcel. That's why I'm making these comments.
Thank you very much, Alhaji.
The NCC has also introduced a VAS aggregation regime where all the aggregators are mandated to maintain connectivity with all network operators. This regime will simplify the ease of launching services by stakeholders in the value chain, including the financial inclusion. The NCC will encourage more collaboration with Central Bank by seeking for the creation of a dispute resolution and arbitration channel to address issues that may arise as a result of the convergence of the two economic segments of finance and ICT. It is not a question of NCC playing a role to ensure that MNOs cooperate maximally with respect to the USSD scheme. It is a pure business decision. NCC has carried out a determination on the cost of providing USSD services, and it was found to be 1 naira 63 kobo per session for 20 seconds. It's a cost-based study that was conducted. This is the actual cost to the telcos for providing USSD services in Nigeria. The NCC has been encouraging MNOs and banks Let me take that again. However, the banks are charging customers, as at today, 26 naira 88 kobo per session. So you can see the determination we did from telco side, which we said the cost to them is 1 naira 63 kobo per session. And the banks are charging 26 naira 88 kobo at the moment. Whereas prior to this determination, I think it was as high as 52 naira point something per session. So you can see the essence of the determination, which now tells us that it makes life easier for you and I as a consumer in this context. Instead of us transferring money and be deducted this much, now we are paying 26 naira as against 52 naira as it were. The NCC has been encouraging the MNOs and the banks through the Joint Technical Committee, that's the NCC and CBN, and other fora to engage more with a view to finding a lasting solution. In other words, you remember I said the cost to the telcos is 1 naira 63 kobo, whereas the banks are charging at the moment 26 naira 88 kobo. So if you now look at the discrepancy, there is need for the two to come together and agree on a workable sharing formula, because these are some of the reports we get from our licensees. Remember, I talked about the dispute resolution mechanism.
Yes.
These are the issues we need to sit down and resolve. Banks cannot be making 26 naira or 50 naira per session as it were, and at the same time paying MNOs an amount that is not commensurate or agreeable as it is now. The sense of fairness is completely lost when you consider that the underlying infrastructure is 100% owned by the MNOs. Is their infrastructure, is their frequency, is their subscribers. So all these are things that we need to look at carefully to address this concern and we move forward. And that's what I think the NCC and the Central Bank will look at, and bring all stakeholders together to move the digital economy
Thank you very
forward.
much, Alaji. Thank you very much. I'm sure one of our panelists is a banker, and he was smiling when we were talking about the disparity in pricing, and I'm sure he's going to speak to that when the time comes. Thank you very much, Alaji. I picked two major points from what you have raised, apart from the disparity in pricing. It's very instructive to know that whilst the Central Bank of Nigeria is encouraging telcos to get the PSB, the Payment Service Bank license, NCC is encouraging the telcos to get the PSSP license. So it shows that there's a form of synergy between the two regulatory organizations. It's something that is a welcome development, and it's something that will definitely will further drive the achievement of the goals of financial inclusion. Thank you very much, Alaji. And also the essence of having a central dispute solution team to address the concern from users of this platform as well. Thank you very much, Alhaji. You've done justice to that introduction. So we've heard from the two regulators, and then we now want to move to people that are consuming or pushing services that are relative to financial inclusion. And permit me, I would like to start with Mr. Borishade. He's going to share with us perspective from the insurance industry. How does insurance relate to financial inclusion? What are the products and services that you have that are in a way helping you to drive financial inclusion? And how has digital payment system helped you in achieving these objectives?
Please permit me to join another meeting. I am going for another meeting. Sorry for interruption, Borishade.
You are welcome, sir. But thank
I'll be
you.
off for a while.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
All right,
you.
sir.
Mr.
Moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alhaji. Yeah.
Thank you, Alhaji.
Thank you very much, sir. But Alhaji, I would like to also mention that we, the insurance industry, we are the great beneficiary from the collaboration between the regulators. So we thank you for that, sir.
Thank you. We are here to support all of you
very
to
much,
ensure
sir.
that we move the economy forward.
Yes, sir. So going back to financial inclusion, I'll just look at it from insurance perspective and from a broader view. Simply, financial inclusion is just about providing access to useful and affordable financial products and services that meet the needs of every individual. It must meet the need of every individual irrespective of their demography, location, social status, or economic status. Take, for example, availability of credit. It simply means someone having access to credit to help to improve his productivity of the microenterprise, or being able to meet his health expenses. It can also mean savings, ability to contribute to pay for children's education in the future. It can also mean insurance, that is, provision of protection against financial impact of vulnerability or uncertainty, or simply payment. Yes. But if I drive this down to insurance, it simply means making insurance readily available and accessible to each and every individual. And that must be irrespective of demography, location, social status, or economic status. And different products have been tested on the USSD, which include buying of personal accident insurance, buying of third-party insurance, all in the interest of financial inclusion and helping to alleviate challenges of the people. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mr. Borishade. Before I leave you, I would like to ask, how is insurance business in the new normal? How are you coping with the challenges occasioned by the economic restrictions from the COVID-19 disease? Here in cyberspace, we call it the new normal.
Thank you. It's indeed a new normal for us in the insurance industry and the insurance business. I'd just like to mention briefly that as a forward-looking organization, one of the things we did at the nick of time was to launch our own mobile insurance or USSD platform, in which we partnered with cyberspace and also the leading mobile telecoms provider in Nigeria. This kind of collaboration, as I said, have pushed us ahead of all our peers in the industry, in that the USSD platform, which we have launched, has been able to give us the opportunity to comply with some of the NCDC's requirements for social distancing. It enables clients and individuals to purchase insurance products by eliminating human contact. They can buy a travel insurance, they can buy a motor insurance, they can buy a personal accident insurance. That is the beauty and advantage of technology in driving our business processes. And I need to commend the collaboration between MTN, between Zenith General Insurance, and also CyberPay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. Mr. Abednego, a challenge has been thrown at you. I know you would like to respond to that. But before you do that, kindly unmute your mic. Yes, okay, thank you. So before you respond to the director of licensing and authorization of NCC, you are from the banking sector, and it's generally believed that financial inclusion centers around the banking industry. You would like to tell us whether that is true or not, and what the role, how are you guys taking financial inclusion in First Bank as an entity?
All right, thank you so much for having me, and good afternoon or good morning, co-panelists and the attendees, about 140 of us who are tied in on this webinar. I think, I wouldn't want to get into the direct challenge, right, thrown by the NCC to the banking industry. I would leave that for the central bank to resolve, right? But let me start, really by acknowledging some of the definitions of financial inclusion that have been given, and really just stating the way we view it. The way the central bank defined financial inclusion is consistent with our view, because we believe that financial inclusion is a state. It's not necessarily a process. It's a state where individuals and businesses have access and can effectively use financial services that meet their needs. And of course, the starting point is also to highlight that financial exclusion is a global problem. So it's not only in Nigeria. It's a point of, top discussions across the world. Because about 2.5 billion people globally are financially excluded. CBN has told us that in Nigeria, that stays at around 36 million. And if you think about it, that becomes, the size, right, of the opportunity that all of us are going after. So in First Bank, we see financial inclusion broadly from two perspectives. One is that we see it as a way to solve social problems and make social impact. And we believe that, First Bank has what it takes to be able to partner with the central bank and, of course, the government of Nigeria to be able to drive financial inclusion and create this social impact that we all desire. The second perspective that we see financial inclusion from is from a revenue perspective. So we believe that it is possible to solve social problems profitably, okay? And that really has been at the bedrock of how we have been rolling out our financial inclusion activities. In 2018, the bank successfully made financial inclusion a core part of our strategy with the rollout of our agent banking. And that was based on our study of the path to achieving financial inclusion in some other markets. For example, in Brazil, one of the ways that they achieved financial inclusion was through agent banking. In Kenya too, that's also the same story. Today, I continue to be very excited about what we're achieving. Our agent banking network has over 62,000, right, locations. So we have achieved about 62,000 locations covering the nooks and crannies, of this country. And this is significant because with what we're achieving with, agent banking today, there is no local government area in the country where you do not have a First Bank service point, whether it is an ATM, whether it is a bank branch, or our First Money agents. So essentially, I would say that First Bank is really at the core, right, at the forefront of leveraging the financial inclusion policy of government to not just provide banking services to Nigerians, but importantly, to improve the lives of Nigerians, to improve businesses in the country, and also to drive the growth in the Nigerian economy. We recently crossed about 300 million successful transactions processed by our agent network. And it is something we're very, very excited about. And like I said initially, we believe that financial inclusion is not just about providing people access to financial services, right? It includes getting them, providing that service in a way that enables people to be able to afford it, to access it, and of course, to solve real problems, for them. And that is why at our agent locations, we have a wide range of services that we are providing, which of course enables people, whether you're a First Bank customer or not, you can access our agent location. People are able to open accounts. They can deposit money into any bank account in Nigeria. You can withdraw money from any bank account in Nigeria. You can make payments, for your bills. You can pay anybody, and of course, access a plethora of other services. So it's an interoperable network that we have built to be able to, provide financial services. Even some of our agents do BVN enrollment, and that is helping to solve the issue of identity, within the financial services ecosystem, which is fundamentally very important, because if you really do not know people, it's difficult, to be able to provide them, services. So essentially, our view is that financial inclusion, for us to be able to achieve it, there has to be a tie-in, right, with financial empowerment, okay? So it really goes beyond technology. It really has to be at the core of, providing people with empowerment. And that is why we are deliberate, about the way we are rolling out our financial inclusion services. We could have, we can easily just stay on the digital channels alone, because those are easy to drive. The NCC panelists mentioned about USSD channel. And of course, we have mobile. But we believe that agent banking is an important, a very crucial, financial inclusion rail, because it takes financial services to the last mile. It takes it right there into the villages where people do not even have access, to the right level of education that will expose them to the use of USSD channel or the use of mobile channel and all that. They require assistance, for them to be able to utilize those services. So we are, through the network that we are creating, empowering Nigerians. I mentioned we have 62,000 agent locations. Each of those 62,000 agent locations is employing at least about 3 people. So in terms of direct employment, we're almost at about 200,000 people in terms of people who have been directly empowered by this agent network. And then, of course, when you think about the fact that each of the about 200,000 people who are directly employed on this network also have people who are dependent on them, family members who they have to take care of, you would see that we are at about 700,000 people who are financially empowered, through the services that we're rendering under our financial inclusion, play. So agent banking is at the core of what we are doing. That's really the nexus of our financial inclusion activity. And like I said, we are very excited about what it is that we're achieving. So let me pause at this point, because I see that you're itching about time. Eh?
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. Okay, so First Bank says, yes, we do financial inclusion, but we are in it for the money, and it's a good idea. I will come back to you with questions around agency banking and the current challenges with COVID-19. Like I said, we target the new normal, how agency banking is still operating in spite of the lockdown and the restrictions. I will come back to that, but permit me to at this point, I welcome Mr. Ladile of Stanbic IBTC Pensions Limited. I want him to relate pension to financial inclusion. What's the relationship between pension and financial inclusion? Pension, the way we know it, the way we've always known it, is a contribution. It's almost synonymous with people working in corporate organizations. So how does that, and you cannot say somebody in a corporate organization is not financially included, you understand? Of course, there are basic banking services that you do, even if it's because of the salary that is paid into a bank, for instance. So what does pension have to do with financial inclusion?
Thank you very much, Abayomi, and good morning to fellow co-panelists and the other participants we have on the line. And it was very of good pleasure for me to be here today. I think various speakers have actually tried to define the understanding of financial inclusion. And it is also important to underscore that, yes, within the context of the pension industry, it is also important to also lay some kind of few understanding or definition of what financial inclusion is all about. So within this context, how we define financial inclusion is a state where financial services are delivered by a range of service providers, basically to reach everyone who could actually use them. So the basic thing about the financial inclusion we are talking about is about availability and also equality of opportunities to financial services. And when we look at it, if you want to really relate it to the pension industry, it is also important for us to understand what are the objectives that federal government or the Central Bank of Nigeria and other stakeholders, they actually have in mind in terms of the problems or rationale behind the financial inclusion. I think one important thing I want to mention is that the financial inclusion, as it were, basically is a value driver towards economic growth. And just like fellow speakers have actually alluded to, when you talk about economic growth for the nation, you realize that when people work, the reward of work is still wages or salaries. Even when you are employed as well, you still make money. And that is why you are also positively, contributing towards the economic growth of the nation. The second objective of financial inclusion, when we look at it from this context, is about wealth creation. So when we talk about pension, pension speaks about wealth creation, it speaks about capital accumulation, it speaks about even credit creation and investment boom, especially for low-income earners that we are talking about in the context of micro-pension. So when you look at these self-employed individuals, that is the micro-pension type of customers, basically, you speak to the fact that it's an opportunity for them to create and generate wealth over a reasonable period of time. The second reason, or the third reason or objective about the financial inclusion, basically is also to reduce the poverty in the land and also basically to alleviate it as well. When you look at the fact that people are gainfully employed, it is a sense of responsibility around the fact that, yes, you have access to information, financial services from time to time. So bringing that up in the context of the pension industry, our own product for the financial inclusion is the micro-pension plan. And it is important to mention that the micro-pension plan, as we have it in the pension industry, it's actually a journey that started in March 2019, when President Buhari actually launched officially the micro-pension plan in the pension industry. And Stanbic IBTC Pension, as a leading pension fund administrator in Nigeria, we also took a very bold step as the first pension fund administrator to launch officially in May 2019. And as we have it today, you can relate the objectives of the micro-pension plan to the objectives of the financial inclusion, because it speaks to economic growth, it speaks to wealth generation, it speaks to capital accumulation, it speaks to investment opportunity, it speaks also to eradication of poverty. And largely, what we have tagged our own micro-pension plan is retire well, because every hardworking Nigeria deserves to retire well at future. So I think I would like to stop on that note, Bayomi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ladile. Mr. Ambore, I will quickly like to open a discussion and ask a question. Mr. Ambore, can you hear me? You're on mute. Okay, so you mentioned earlier that there are 36 million eligible adults in Nigeria that are still financially excluded. Mr. Boris Shade offers insurance services. Mr. Aladele offers pension, micro pension services. Mr. Abednego is in the banking sector. I'm sure they're interested in these 36 million people that are available and ready to be grabbed. So the question is, is there data that stakeholders can access to know who and who are currently included and who are excluded, so that in terms of target marketing, they can know, okay, who are we targeting and how are we going to target the people and where are they and all those stuff like that. So is there a place where we can go, or is it private information that cannot be shared? You need to speak up a bit. We can't hear you.
Is it better now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. The location of the 36.6 million people.
Yes, where are these people? Go after them.
Yes. Thank you very much. Most of them live in the northwest of Nigeria. So precisely 62% of them reside in the northwest. 55% of them reside in, or let me phrase it this way. 62% of the adults in northwest Nigeria are financially excluded. 62% of the adults in northwest Nigeria are financially excluded. 55% of the adults in northeastern Nigeria are financially excluded. 31% of the adults in north central Nigeria are financially excluded. 23% of the adults in the south Nigeria are financially excluded. 29% of the adults in southeast Nigeria are financially excluded. So the most included region is the Lagos axis, the southwest axis, that will have just 19% financial inclusion, which is below our financial inclusion target. The most financially excluded state in Nigeria is Gombe, where 76.1% of their population is financially excluded. In terms of demographics, youths are more excluded compared to other age groups. Women are more excluded than men. Rural dwellers are more excluded than urban dwellers. Then MSMEs are more excluded than people in the formal sector. What should interest innovators is the fact that 71.3% of these 36.6 million people have at least a feature phone. And if you look at statistics, we've not been doing well digitally. So mobile money penetration, for instance, is just at 3.3%. And the awareness of mobile money is still as low as 18%. And statistics are on that even for those that are included, fully digital transactions in was just about 70 million. So that is, there is a lot of opportunity to leverage digital to provide services, both for the financially included and the financially excluded. So I've told them where the financially excluded people reside. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambore. And the data that you shared, permit me to ask if this data is readily available in public.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. So where do we access this data? Is it on the CBN website, or there's a dedicated website for financial inclusion from the financial inclusion?
EFINA does annual access to finance survey. You can find on the finance website, and you can find on CBN's financial inclusion annual publications. We do annual financial inclusion reports. It's available on CBN website, available in financial inclusion strategy as well. Yeah, so the data is publicly available.
Now, but let me go to Mr. Borishade, because when Mr. Borishade heard about 36 million people that are excluded, I could see the facial expression. I could see him targeting the market and trying to restructure. I could see him allocating resources in those areas already. Sir, I know Zenith Insurance has a good spread across the country. So, briefly, how do you intend to stick to targeting these 36 million people that are financially excluded, knowing that you have wonderful insurance products? And I'm not saying this because there are cyberspace driving that service, but I believe that it will be of great benefits to Zenith General Insurance to access and harness these 36 million that are currently financially excluded.
Well, thank you very much. You recall that I mentioned that we launched our USSD platform precisely in February, and it was timely. And one good thing, I'll just share this empirical result with you. It has been proven time and time again that to reach out to 1 million people, to sell insurance to 1 million people in a traditional insurance form, it takes about 40 years. To reach that 1 million milestone using via mobile operator, it takes 1 year. Can you imagine? It takes 1 year compared to 40 years. And as I've mentioned, that for us, the product launch, our USSD product launch, has been a game changer in the distribution of retail insurance in Nigeria. Imagine, our product can be sold to all Nigerians by merely dialing that USSD code on their phone, irrespective of their demography, their location, their social status, or economic status. Already we have positioned ourselves as an organization to take advantage of this USSD so that we can reach out to millions of Nigerians. The statistic given is very correct. In fact, it's in alignment with our own current premium generation demography as a company. So it has given us more insight, and all we have to do is to reach out to millions of Nigerians so that they can just simply press that USSD code *5966# on their phone. In 2 minutes, they will buy a travel insurance. In 2 minutes, they will buy a personal accident insurance. And we are very aggressive about this. As I've said, IT drive business process, USSD code platform is a game changer in the insurance industry.
Thank you very much. You mentioned the USSD code, sir.
Yes, I repeat it for every participant. *5966#. That is the way to go.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Aladele.
Yeah, thank you, Abayomi.
There are 36 million Nigerians that are financially excluded. 71% of these 36 million have feature phones. For you to drive a USSD service, you don't need to have a special phone. So what is the strategy? This is an opportunity for microventure. Are you looking in this direction?
All right, thank you very much, Abayomi. And I think it's a very important question you've actually raised here. And looking at the age that we have found ourselves now, the best approach you can always use to leverage on is to leverage on technology. And I will share 2 values in Stanbic, which I think actually speaks to what we are talking about. It's about the fact that we constantly raise the bar. And more importantly also is that we are being proactive. So we have started the digital journey ahead of time. We didn't pray for COVID-19 to happen. but things happen along the line. I want to give you some examples of some of the channels and services of convenience that we have created, basically for the adoption and then the uses of the micro pension plan, and even for a regular pension products within the group. So July this year, we actually launched a super app. And that's the first of its kind in Nigeria app where you have multiple products in one app. You can imagine when you have an app where you can access minimum of 7 different products, be it bank accounts, be it wallets, be it pensions, be it stockbroking, even be it insurance as well. You can, make your claim on insurance, everything end to end. Secondly, let me also speak into the micro pension plan as well. So for us in Stanbic, we have actually designed and deployed, currently running, it's known as developmental stage, a minimum viable product where customers can actually onboard on their own. You can make self-contribution because convenience is very important for this type of customers. And also, you can also make the request in terms of your withdrawal. So these are the 3 key features that a micro pension can do at the comfort of your house, at the comfort of your home at any point in time. Lastly, I also want to commend the effort of cyberspace, especially at the level of the industry, in terms of the key initiative that you have actually done. And that speaks to the fact that when Engineer Joe was making the opening remarks, when it comes to the micro pension pen remit. So the micro pension pen remit, it's another solution that has been deployed at the level of the pension industry to promote micro pension customers to do self-onboarding, self-contribution, whether on USSD, whether on cards, even doing direct debit at any point in time. And let me say it loud and clear as well. We also have USSD that you can use, which is *55701# for purpose of contribution, deployed and designed by cyberspace in collaboration with Zenith Pension Custodian. I think it's quite commendable in terms of the effort that has been done so far. So lastly, addressing the 36 million basically is that it's a journey that we have started, even though the challenges are still there, but I know that in the next 3 to 5 years, when we look back, we start asking ourselves a question that, we actually see in the future ahead of time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Abednego.
Yes, please.
So everybody is talking about the 36 million people that are available for grabs. These guys, they already have feature phones. So in a way, they can make call, they can receive phone calls, they can maybe receive and of course read SMS. So what's the strategy? Of course, basically in the northern part of the country, First Bank is very high on agents banking. So are you looking in that direction already? And what is the strategy?
All right, thank you. So if there is any bank, right, or any financial services provider that is covering the country or is on ground to address the geographical gap in financial inclusion, that organization is First Bank. And I would say 2 things, right? One is that in terms of our agent locations, we've covered the entire country. And based on what we know, there are people in this country, especially in the north, who would need people to be able to guide them in using financial services. So it's a fact. The second thing is that we have the largest or the biggest USSD banking channel in Nigeria today. About 9.5 million of our customers, right, are using our *894# USSD banking service. The volumes of transactions that we're processing across the country, as including the north, northwest, northeast, north central, is unparalleled, right? So we are already at the forefront of leveraging technology to be able to drive financial inclusion. And the way we see the market, right, is that you have the segment of the market who can do self-service. So we have our digital channels deployed for those customers. But you also have a significant segment of the market who will access what we call self-directed digital channels, which is what the agent banking platform is. Indeed, for you to process 300 million successful transactions, across the country in the remotest of villages, it's not, you can't do it without technology. So we're leveraging technology and we're already covering the entire country. The coverage we have, in terms of our branch network, in terms of our agent locations, and in terms of the spread of the adoption, the usage of our USSD and mobile banking channels, provide us significant data, right, to be able to tell, what needs to happen, the challenges that are being experienced by customers, what needs to happen to be able to grow, financial inclusion in Nigeria and adoption, and really be able to address fundamental problems for people, creating services that they can, that will solve problems for them. And I'll give you an example. One of the things that we have done for our agent location, for example, is to leverage the transactional data that they are generating and other data that we have with them, and leverage the power of big data analytics and machine learning to be able to build algorithms that we're now using to lend to them, providing them credit for them to be able to support their business. That same infrastructure is also extended for us to be able to lend to the ordinary Nigerians. If you remember, when I mentioned initially that financial inclusion goes beyond just having access to an account. It's also about services that impact people's lives. And so today, through our AI-powered algorithms and machine learning and big data, and the tons of data we have been generating on customers since 1894, we are now able to lend to a wide range of our customers digitally, credit score them in minutes, and provide them credit. So technology is really helping, and we're leveraging that. We're at the forefront of leveraging technology to be able to address the geographical gap in financial inclusion, and also to deepen adoption and usage of digital services across the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abednego. This question goes to MD Engineer Joe. There's been a lot of mentions from Stanbic IBTC, from the insurance, Zenith Insurance, about how their collaboration with cyberspace is helping them to drive growth of their products and services. This question is more about assurances. I know, like I mentioned at the introduction, cyberspace have been doing this for the past 25 years. The question is, what further assurance are we giving to our partners as regards the excellence of our service, the reliability of our product, and the innovations that we intend to bring about from time to time?
Thank you, Abayomi, and thank you all the panelists. We in CyberPay have been trying to see how best we can bring a lot of innovations, to see how we can leverage and help the insurance industry, the pension industry, and the banks in general. We have gone ahead to even develop a cyber world called CyberPay. The CyberPay has a lot of functionalities. In addition to the USSD code, which we are working with the Zenith Insurance, also the micro pension, we are working with the Stanbic IBTC pension. We also have a marketplace where customers can go and download. If you have an Android, you go to Play Store and download into your Android phone. If it is the iOS, you go to the App Store and download the CyberPay. And the functionalities, it can help you with the electricity and energy payments. You can pay for electricity consumption in Lagos and also pay for relatives, parents, etc. all over the country. You also have cable TV subscription, DSTV, GoTV, StarTimes, etc. Also, airline tickets, domestic air travel tickets for all major airlines can also be leveraged there on the comfort of your home. We also have toll gate wallet top-up for all the toll gates, especially Lekki, Ikoyi, that does not accept cash. We also have facilities that has airtime for all networks. You can go there and buy your airtime from the ease of your home, from the ease of your office. We also have fund transfer, send money within the app, send money to any bank account and all that. Those are the extra innovations we also brought to the table to also help our customers and also help our partners to leverage on them and see how they can increase the customer base. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. From Engineer Joe, if what it means is that today, if typically what I do is I buy the recharge card by the roadside and I use to scratch. With the CyberPay app, I don't need to be scratching the recharge card anymore. If I have the mobile app, I can buy airtime and do a lot of other services. Thank you very much, sir, and we appreciate that contribution. Mr. Abednego, earlier on you talked about your agent banking network. When the restrictions started and we started having a lockdown, how did the agent banking business fare? Because agent banking business requires physical interactions between agents and subscribers. So how did the agent banking business fare during this period?
Very good question. Thank you, Abayomi. It was during the lockdown, the COVID lockdown, that we saw really the power and the importance of the agent banking network, in driving financial inclusion in Nigeria. If you would recall, the lockdowns across the different states meant that movement was restricted, bank branches were shut down, ATM locations ran out of cash. In addition to the challenges around, the concerns from customers around coming out to touch surfaces that, other people have touched, right? So you have the combined effect of restrictions, bank branch unavailability, ATM location inaccessibility, and even cash. When cash runs out, the ATM runs out of cash, it was very difficult at that point, to be able to go and count cash and then put cash back into the ATMs and all that. So we saw a very, we saw growing adoption of, digital channels throughout that period. So channels like USSD banking, channels like our mobile banking that customers could use by themselves, we saw growth in them. Although that was not so long moderated by the lack of funds, the restriction in economic activity meant that people did not have money in their accounts. And of course, when they don't have money, they're not able to transact through digital channels. But the agent banking channel was really, it stepped up to the game. Because these are really at the places where people already live. It's easy for you to come out of your home and then maybe the pharmacy or the chemist shop, right, on your street is an agent, and he's able to provide you access to financial services without you having to come out on the road where, security agents will, could get you arrested and all that. So we saw sustained growth of the agent locations. And because of the way we have also created our services, the agent location, social distancing is enforced by design. You don't have places where people will come and sit down and then they are breathing on themselves. Typically, those locations are built such that customers stand in front of the, burglary or the gather that the agent has provided. And then the agent is at the back and is able to serve him. And so the only thing you're worrying about, you're not touching surfaces, you're not, clustering with people. You're just worrying about, touching the cash and then eventually sanitizing your hands. Many of our agent locations also provided access for customers to be able to wash their hands when they get to the location and then to be able to sanitize before they, come into their location. So all of those, helps to be able to weather the storm. Indeed, one of the things that we have seen is that post-lockdown, the volumes of transactions on that channel has grown astronomically. And that is because during the lockdown, many people had to it was the only access that they could have to the accounts, right? To be able to fund the accounts before you can even do digital payments. So that improved the adoption, the awareness and the adoption of the channel, which we are now reaping post-lockdown. So that channel has really weathered down the storm and is now an important financial inclusion rail.
So thank you very much. So I will take questions from few questions from our registered participants. And the first question is a very strategic question because strategic in the sense that this person indicated that she's from that region in the north where they are so financially excluded. And this question is talking about how is financial inclusion being extended to rural areas where there is poor internet service? Mr. Ladele, how do you sell pension, micro pension, for instance, to a rural area where there are poor internet service? Because they say that is one of the reasons why those areas probably are financially excluded.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's a very important question. And I mean, the way I will try to address that question in terms of how is, as we speak today, we already have technology that you can actually onboard customer offline, whereby you can start the process offline. And at any point in time, when you have access to internet, you can actually commit the records, basically. So the solution we have can work both on online and offline, a dual solution. And even looking at it from the remote point of view, we have collaboration with, a lot of agencies that can actually penetrate, those locations. And they have already been empowered in terms of a device, or let's say digital channels that they can use to onboard a customer. And also, let me also mention about the fact that the USSD channel that we are talking about, it's another way whereby a basic awareness, a basic product education is going to solve that problem around it. I mentioned earlier on about the star 55701 hash. If you want to contribute as a customer, the most important thing about customer is you have to be a customer for you to contribute. You already have an account and you want to contribute. It is not internet driven. Basically, for someone that is using USSD code, you can commit your transaction. And even for new customers that want to come on board as well, I said it earlier on, you can start the process offline and commit it online. So I think technology is very important, and we have a lot of virtual technology measures that are still upcoming that customer can use at any point in time to access, be it where you are. I think what we should be looking at now is that it doesn't matter where you are in Nigeria, because every hardworking Nigeria, be it self-employed individuals, whether you work in structured or unstructured organizations, whether you have irregular income, whether you are located in the rural areas or semi-urban areas, you are actually entitled to this product called micro pension, because our desire is to ensure that every hardworking Nigeria retires well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my next question will go to Mr. Borishade. One of the registered participants said, everybody is saying, okay, let's get everybody financially included. Let's bring them in, let's bring them in. Had there no implication to, as regards risk? If we decide to open financial services to everybody, what are the risk implications, and how do you intend to address these issues around risk? So being a risk management expert, sir, what's your take on that?
That's a very interesting question. Foremost, I need to tell that participants, insurance works on large numbers. The more the numbers, the better for us to be able to do the better rating and to bring down the pricing. So the more people who sign up or bring on board, the better for the insurance company, because we're able to spread the risk amongst a larger set of population. So don't worry, enroll on star 5966 hash and be part of the family. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The last question to Mr. Abednego. He said, what has been your major challenge from this 62,000 agent location? In 1 minute, please. what are the challenges in your agent location? That's the question to Mr. Abednego in 1 minute.
Okay, so there are a number of challenges, right? But I would say a major challenge is availability of infrastructure. My co-panelist from NCC had said that the telcos have access, they have coverage everywhere in the country. But the truth is you still have significant challenges, communication challenges across the country. Especially in the north and due to the insurgency, you find that, for a significant amount of time, the network is fluctuating, and that creates a problem for the entire system. The other problem that we have had to deal with is the problem of power. And the problem of power is fundamental because we're talking about technology here. You're giving them POS terminals, right? Some of them, are using phones. They would have to charge those devices and all that. They have to, make sure that at least their shop, there's fan, blowing so that people are not sweating and, having challenges. So it's a major, major problem. They are using poor power, generators that, they're pass my neighbor type generators to charge the POS terminals. And that's just leads to frequent breakdowns. So there are a number of challenges. And of course, on the regulatory side, you find that the policy initiatives currently, especially on dispute resolution, favors only the customers. When people transact at the agent location and then they go and complain in their bank that, the agent did not provide them service, the current policy initiatives just protects the customer and puts the burden of proof only on the agent. And that's a problem. And that's something that if we're going to be able to sustain that important rail for driving financial inclusion, we must begin to look at policy initiatives and industry collaboration that would address and ensure that, both the agent and the customers are protected and both can trust the system. So let me pause here because you said 1 minute, yes.
Thank you very much for that response. There are other questions, but that are specific to NCC and CPN. I will ensure that both representatives of NCC and CPN get those questions so that we can get answers to them, and then we'll make it available through our channels. I want to say thank you very much for everybody for your participation, and it's been a wonderful time listening to every one of you. Once again, we appreciate the fact that you honored our invitation. And to round up, I will welcome our group managing director, Engineer Joe Ubea, to quickly close with a speech.
Thank you, Abayemi, once again. A very big thank you to everyone who has participated in this session today. Indeed, I must say that it has been a very interesting conversation and a time well spent. The panelists have been tremendous with great insights and information on the essence of financial inclusion and how the entire nation can key into the opportunities that abound all around us, especially the 36.6 million Nigerians that are still financially excluded. This session has opened our eyes to see areas where we can harness business opportunities, both as individuals and as corporate entities, despite the pandemic. Fantastic delivery, I must say. Thank you to the panelists, Abednego Ogweke, the Head Financial Inclusion, First Bank of Nigeria, Abimbola Ladele, Head Micro Pension and Agency, Stanbic IBTC Pension, Kehinde Aborishade, MD CEO, Zenith General Insurance, Alhaji Mohammed Babajiga, Director of Licensing and Authorization, NCC, and Stephen Ambori, Head Digital Financial Services, CBN, for agreeing to be part of this conversation. We appreciate you. At CyberPay, we will continue to join hands with the regulatory authorities to ensure adoption and compliance with their policies and guidelines. And to our customers, who were always referred to as our partners, we say that we have resolved to ensure excellent performance for all our products and services. To everyone that has tuned in, thank you for your time and participation. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, MD. So the last, before we go, I want to encourage every one of us, especially the participants, to follow our social media handles, CyberPay Niger. So on CyberPay Niger, you see clips from this webinar and some other questions and answers that we provided to those questions. Thank you very much once again for your time. We appreciate your presence here, and we look forward to another session like this. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.